Hey folks, here we are in the new house. It's real. It's actually here. We didn't just dream about it. It's actually a real place that now we live in. As you can see, we have plenty of stuff to unpack. I'm in the den. And here, you actually got a nice view of the yard here too. Very, very lovely. We made it. We made it. It was a giant 12-hour plus moving day yesterday, but we made it. And you know what? It was sort of surreal. Annalise came down with us. Well, she was already down here with her, with Katie's parents, with her Bubby and Poppy, as she calls them. She spent the night over there last night because her crib wasn't ready. Her room wasn't ready. She's actually spending the night over there again because her room has been painted and it still smells like paint. And so, you know, we're sort of step by step settling in, but it's this amazing feeling. You know, Katie and I were just kind of thinking about how much has happened. And I think we were both getting a really strong sense of having, you know, manifested this in a way. There's a way in which the last several months of looking at where we are in life and looking at where we would like to go and imagining what, you know, what our next step might look like, and just a lot of that inner work feels like it's coming into it's sort of like it's poofing into existence really actually quite quickly if you think about it. It's one of these weird things about how that works. You know, when you set an intention, I find this frequently. I'll set an intention and then and the answer comes at a time or in a way that I wasn't anticipating. You know, it's like the manifestation of that intention or the answer to the question or the kind of like solution to the problem. A lot of times it's like I feel like the intention just opens the door, or the question opens the door, or the vision, you know, opens the door. But this is kind of an undeniable answer in a way, like that we live here now, and you know, this is a beautiful house. So I'll give you a tour sometime. It's, you know, just having kind of like found our way into this next step really feels like the result of things that we've been thinking about and generative work that we've been doing for some time. And that's a really cool feeling to just arrive here and be like, wow, we live here now. You know, I've also never had the feeling quite this way of picking up from one place and moving an entire house in one day. I've moved, feels like dozens of times over my life, but I've never done this. And this the landing experience of the transplant is kind of fun. kind of feels like we're still living in a hotel, but it's a good sized hotel room and all of our stuff is here. It's kind of like that feeling. So yeah, I'm still kind of like working it out as far as like what this all, you know, where I am. I'm definitely still in that limbo space. I'm definitely still in this space of like everything's up in the air. And the other thing that has been coming through today is as I was driving somewhere, probably back from Home Depot or something, but I drove past the park, which is just out this side of the house. It's right down the block, very excellently located. I was driving past the park and I just had this sense of the meditation and centeredness and spiritual work are actually really they're really kind of the core at a time like this. They're the key. They're the core at a time like any time, but a time like this where there's so much, you know, what I'm noticing is there's so much stuff happening, stuff moving. We're moving our stuff. We have things. We're going from one concrete house to a new concrete house. It's a lot. It draws me into material in a way. It draws me into the manifest world in a way to go through a move like this. And I'm just finding myself really just having the urge, or just having the space open within me to just come back to the silence too, and to let that silence, just acknowledge it, just not even remember it, but just acknowledge it and hold all of this activity, and all of this very manifestation oriented movement in that space of silence, and let the silence really permeate. Let it be silent. There is, speaking of silence, there's a new level of silence in this house from our other house. Our other house was beautifully located. It was one of my favorite locations in all of Santa Fe. But we were right on a corner of where there's a fair amount of traffic, and you always heard cars outside. Whenever I was shooting my videos, my piano videos, whenever I was practicing, cars. You just learn to drown it out. It's like living near an airport. Not that bad, but that same idea of like you stop hearing it because it's always there. But this house is actually silent. And that's kind of fun. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at today. I think that's what I'm. If I were going to give myself an imperative, or a kind of like a nudge today, I would say, find the silence, rest into the silence, acknowledge the silence, be with it, so that the storm has an eye, so that there's an eye of the storm that can be the center of gravity for all the other stuff. So that's just kind of what's coming through. Can't wait to give you a tour. It's going to be really fun. The piano's not here yet, but it's happening soon. And I'll keep you posted. Appreciate you folks. Thanks for watching. It's really cool to sort of have you listening and be sharing this experience. I really appreciate all the people who've reached out with comments and just sort of talked about, a couple of people mentioned that hearing me talk about this transition is just sort of like reminding them of either they're also going through a big transition of some kind right now, or reminds you of other times in your life when you kind of had this experience. And it's super inspiring, and I'm very touched to hear you guys just reflecting what your experience is around what I'm going through right now and receiving it. So have a great day, or a great night, or whatever. Love you all. I'll see you soon.